Hey guys, Chad here with Apex Reviews. Today I'm excited to bring you this 2019 Jeep Grand Cherokee Overland equipped with the 5.7 liter V8. Now, as a quick disclaimer, I actually owned two of these WK2 generation Grand Cherokees through the years. The first being a 2011 Overland Summit. Now that was before when the Summit was actually a package on the Overland, and then a 15 high altitude, which was kind of slotted between the Overland and the Summit, and both of those had the 5.7 liter V8. So I've had a lot of seat time in this generation Grand Cherokee. I'd say right around 100,000 miles between the two, and you know, we really had great luck with them, and the only reason we sold the car was we just wanted something different through the years. For us, they've been a great car, great utility, great towing vehicle, great looking, just all around good SUV. So the 2019 model year is the last year for this generation Grand Cherokee. So they made some minor changes to the interior, some tweaks to the exterior, and let's take a look at what they've changed for this year. Now, before I get started, I'd like to thank Feeney Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Midland, Michigan for providing this Jeep for review today. Now, if you live in the area or even outside of Michigan, I'd readily recommend reaching out to them to see what kind of deal they can work out for you. We've bought quite a few cars from them through the years, and they've always been a pleasure to work with low pressure sales and just nice people. And I'd tell you that even if they weren't buying this or providing this Jeep for me to review. Now, going forward with the exterior of the Grand Cherokee, you'll see the overall design is all the same. You do have different wheels for this year, but the sporting appearance of the Grand Cherokee as well as off-road ability hasn't changed. You get that nice roof line in the back there, kind of gives it a nice forward motion look. The shorter wheelbase is more athletic in my opinion than something like the Grand Cherokee, and it's just overall a good looking vehicle. You know, I've owned two of them, so that kind of goes to imply that I like how they look. But it's just been a vehicle that I think looks nice. You can still, you know, have a classy appearance, still has that sporting nature. The 5.7 is a great engine, great power. It's just a great combination that I think through the years you're not going to have. You know, these cafe standards are really pulling away the 5.7 or even V8s from a lot of vehicles. So if you're kind of a traditionalist and you want, you know, 370, 380 horsepower out of your SUV without going for the German brands, this is really what you're looking at an attainable price. You know, this I think is right around $45,000, $50,000, which for what you're getting with the engine, powertrain, infotainment, wheels, appearance, everything like that, it's just a great bargain. Now, looking at the front, it's just a play of the camera here, but I'm sure you've seen Grand Cherokees on the road. These headlamps are very similar. They did tweak them slightly. I think in the 16 or 17 model year, this on the LEDs, they adjusted a little bit, and the grille was reduced in height just a tad. And you do have LED fog lamps here, as well as chrome tow hooks. Now, these are just the DRLs. I'll kick on the headlamps for you just so you can see how those look as well. So now these are the DRLs with headlamps and the LED fog lamps on. You can see they got a nice look to them. They are by xenon. And then these are your LED lamps as well. These are pure white in person. The camera has a hard time really picking that up. But as you can see, nice solid appearance going down the road at night. Now, continuing on, you'll see the 19 Overland does have new wheels, and these are optional on the Limited. You have chrome mirror caps as well as door handles and surround window trim. The side of the car doesn't have any plastics or anything like that. You know, if they are plastic, they're painted, but you don't have anything going across the bottom, anything such as that. You get a nice bold Grand Cherokee text. You do have a power gas cap, so that's nice. So if you live in a rough area or perhaps going somewhere, you know, you don't want anybody to mess with your fuel, that is a power release right inside by your knee. And this actually is the ivory paint, and I'm going to try to get the camera to focus in on it here. But it is a great looking paint. You can see some of the flake there on the right side now in the camera, but it's just a pleasure to look at. I mean, it's got a great amount of depth to it. I mean, if you took this thing and got it ceramic coated, I can't even imagine, you know, how great that would look. So I know these ivory paints or these, you know, white diamond tri-coats, if you're looking at GM, are kind of controversial since it's kind of an off-white, but this one really has a good solid white appearance when I'm looking at it now, so I don't think it's kind of got too much of that hue, kind of off-white. Looking at the rear, no changes this year, pretty much the same carryover. You still get with the 5.7 a 5,400 pound towing capacity, and with the V6 Pentastar you get a 5,000. And I will say it has no problem towing that capacity. We have a 22-foot, 5,000 pound travel trailer, and with that 8-speed transmission and this engine, it has zero issues going down the road. It really tows it with ease, gets decent gas mileage. I think when we were towing there, we were getting right around 12 mpg towing a travel trailer. So for those of you that do tow, you know, that's pretty darn good. You do have dual exhaust here, and they actually are true dual exhaust. You have your hitch, 7 and 4 pin connectors, and your power liftgate release, as well as Overland badging. Now the Overland does have chrome surrounds on the tail lamps. They do have like an altitude as well as I think the upland and the high altitude. If you kind of want it that more kind of a blacked out appearance, the trim around the windows, the tail lamps, things like that will all be black. So it all depends on what look you're going for, but they do have a trim that really will meet your needs. That sound has not changed since 2011. That button's always been right there. That sound's been the same. I swear I hear that sound in my sleep from owning 2 of them. Now, when I do my drive time, you might hear these move around the back. These are the mats and owner's manual, license plate brackets, things such as that. This one's got a subwoofer in the rear. This is not the optional Harman. This does not have the optional Harman Kardon sound system equipped, but I will say this one does sound pretty darn good. The Harman Kardon does sound better, but if you're not an audiophile, I think this will be just fine. In all honesty, I found the Harman Kardon to have a little bit too much bass, even when I reduced it down in the equalizer. So it all depends on what you're looking for. If you want bass, absolutely go for the Harman Kardon. Sounds great. But for those of you that kind of want a more traditional sound system, I think I might just stick with this one here. And I think it's still, it doesn't say Alpine, but I believe it's still Alpine components on the inside, if I recall. Perhaps someone can verify that in the comment section. Over here, you can see you do have a bin, and I noticed there used to be a flashlight right here that you could pop right out of the side panel. So evidently people didn't use it through the years, or perhaps something they pulled out. I can tell you I've owned 2 of them and I never used it, but it was kind of cool to have a little flashlight that popped out on that corner. Looking underneath, you can see you do have your spare tire as well as a little tube for getting fuel in case you run out. Your jack and other components there. You get 2 storage bins. We always put straps in ours and things like that, or if we had something we didn't want to spill, we put it in there, and if it did spill, it wasn't a big deal. But it is nice that they made use of the space and gave you a little more storage. Now you do have D-rings right here, and both front, all 4 corners, so if you guys are putting anything in the rear, you can definitely strap these down. They get a real good solid tension to them, good mount, so I think that would be a great spot. You know, everything back here does fine. You do have your storage cover going back, and just keep in mind of this arch when you guys are putting stuff in, just because, you know, that's going to come down and you got to take that into consideration. The gate will stop if it hits any obstructions, but just something to keep in mind. This is not sped up or slowed down. This is the true speed of the liftgate. Closes, and you are all set. Going on to the side, you can see pretty much the same story. Evidently, obviously not going to change anything up side to side. You get your chrome roof rails, and that is about it on the exterior. So what do you guys think? It's a good looking car. Do you think it's aged well through the years? I personally really do. I think it still looks very fresh. The profile, I think, is very timeless, in my opinion. You know, it's maybe not as timeless as some, you know, old Ferraris or something like that, but I think it's a car that will age well through the years. They've just done a great job with the LED treatments. You know, you do get the LED surround on your tail lamps, LED brake lamps. I just think overall it's just a solid looking car. So just leave in the comment section below. Tell me what you think. You know, I'm interested to see what people think about this Grand Cherokee. Now let's take a look at the inside and see what kind of space you have as a passenger, and really what really matters, just because that's where you're spending all your time, right? All right, guys, let's take a look. And before I get in, I just want to show you the threshold here. You can see the door does open a nice amount, so you can get in with ease. They do make optional, you know, steps for these. I personally think they look ridiculous, if you want the truth, but you know, you can get in very easily. The air suspension actually does go down. You can set it to automatically go to entry-exit mode, which is actually an inch lower than what it is here. So I don't think you really need to get step rails, but if that's your vehicle, so be it. Door looks nice. You do get soft touch materials along the top, bottom here, and this is actually very soft touch here. You know, there's a lot of soft touch materials when you get into these upper trim Grand Cherokees. I remember when I was at a bank, I actually had to sign my signature at the bottom, and I couldn't find a soft surface to put my pen on. So it was just kind of funny to turn around. I couldn't find anywhere. I think I ended up signing right here on the steering wheel, and you know, maybe I honked the horn, who knows. But it's just a very nice place to be, and they just did an awesome job here, you know. And I'm gonna critique if I see anything to critique, I swear, but they just, through the years, they've really refined this. You know, I would have said the gear shifter in 2014, 15. I'll say my 15, it was kind of a bugger with the way they had that gear shifter, but they've revised it. Now you've got a pretty simple gear selector. So just anyhow, but looking at it, you can see nice look here coming in, nice appearance coming to the rear. See these doors open up to that degree, and again, soft touch materials following through to the rear. I think this might not be as soft of a touch as the front one, just something to note. Nice chrome locks, door handles. These ones are a little dirty, but they are chrome. And you get a nice black surround. And these black surrounds, which you see in the front as well as these door handles, are just pretty much on the 2019 Trailhawks as well as Overlands. The other ones, the other trim levels will have different colors here. Looking at the rear, you'll see nice leather covered seats here, nice plush leather. This does open up and stop right here. It does not hit the bottom. Again, as if you watch this channel, you know that it drives me nuts when they do that. It just seems to me to be a cost-cutting thing. I do like the little strap here too, so you're not fishing in here trying to pull it out. It's just a nice, easy access. And these rear seats do recline, so that's very nice. This one right here, it'd be like a 60/40, so if you did this side, it would tilt back there, and that side goes back too. But it's been nice when you're going on a road trip or anything like that, just to lean back and enjoy your time in the car. And the rear seats in this are heated, so you've got your 115 volt, 150 watt power supply, which is just here. You just open that up, and then you have your heated seats and USB ports. And from the rear, you can actually select if you want your vents to go on your feet or up to you in those vents right there. So I do like that it just says knees instead of face. I mean, I've seen in the past where they have it pointed to your face, and I'm like, no, it's my knees. But anyhow, and you do get grocery bag holders right here. So nice little feature. We actually used them in the past when we didn't want to have groceries flying around the back and we didn't have the netting there. So hook it here, pulls down. The length of the bags is actually just perfect, so they're still hitting here but not ripping, so they're not loose. It's a good position for them. And I'll sit in the back here, and I do have the front seat back. I'm 5'10", and obviously still 5'10", and I've got room here. I could, you know, lean my seat back just fine. As far as headroom with the sunroof here, this panoramic sunroof, I've got, I'd say 3 or 4 inches of headroom, so definitely a good place to be. No concerns in this department. All right, let's go sit in the front seat. All right, now sitting in the front seat, it's really the place to be in the Grand Cherokee. Whether the passenger or the driver, it's just a pleasure. You know, as the driver, you do get this wood on the top of your steering wheel that is heated, as well as the leather around it. And I will say it's a nice thick steering wheel, and the wood as you're driving down the road being heated in the winter is just great. I mean, that's something we actually miss. And our 15 high altitude didn't have that. It was a full leather steering wheel. They didn't do it on that, and I missed it from the 11. It's just something I've always really liked on these Grand Cherokees, is this heated wood portion. Now on the 19, they did change the stereo. Not the stereo necessarily, but the infotainment and the way it's mounted. So if you look at an 18, which I'll kind of throw up here real quick, you'll see it does have a recess there, and there's plastic all around it, and it's not really as clean as what you're seeing here as the 19. So this is a flush mount. You can see it's got a slight bezel there, but it is just a nicer, cleaner looking screen to where you can, you know, just do what you'd like. So if I click climate, you can see everything's off. I press that, I can turn on my heated seat, I can turn on my heated wheel, turn on the backup camera so you can see that, and I can turn on the radio, you know, whatever I'd like. And it's just a nice, easy system to work with. This is, you know, FCA's Uconnect system. If you've had an FCA vehicle or if you've read reviews, you'll know that this is really a really good system. You know, it's through the years, other manufacturers have really done a great job catching up, but for the longest time, Uconnect was just, it was the one to have. I mean, it was quick, easy to use, intuitive, and just a good system. So Now going forward, you can see you do have navigation here. And one thing to note, when you're on climate and you have this up, it just opens up the controls tab. So the controls tab in itself is its own kind of entity. So just something to note. And when I go to nav, they do have home and work set up as just kind of presets. So obviously those are places you go quite often. So it's pretty convenient to kind of cut right to the chase and have those readily available. You can see your map, gives you your current street, current city, things like that. Your phone controls are there. I'm not going to open that up just for some privacy reasons. And obviously your climate controls, media, and I will kick on a song that's non-copyright here just so you guys can hear how that sounds. I won't show the screen just because of my name being on there, but as far as you know, I'm just Apex, so it's I just don't want to show that. So anyways, I'll have my phone off screen, and then you have XM radio. So I can't turn this up for copyright reasons, but you can see it's quick and easy to use. You got 80s N8, pulse, you can jump between AM, FM. It's just easy to use, and as you can see, the FM does have HD signals as well. Now, one thing I'd like to share on this that I really like, so this does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so great to see. You know, if that's something you'd like to use, you do have access for Spotify, Pandora, all that integration right from the screen. But I do like, right here, you have off-road pages. So you have vehicle dynamics. You can see your steering angle if I turn the wheel, and the wheels actually move on the screen. You have your suspension. Right now it's in normal. And for, just to show you, I'll actually put it in off-road 2. And you can see it is showing up. And you can actually see, like the CV joint there, showing that it's moving. Now it's doing the front. And it goes front, rear, and kind of goes up in a moving motion. So just something to note, and I'll get out and show you guys exactly how this looks when we're done. So you can see off-road 2, which is the highest, as well as the park mode, which is the lowest. You have pitch and roll, so you can see I'm at a slight pitch and roll right here. Your altitude and coordinates. Some accessory gauges, such as coolant temp, oil temp, well, you can read, so it's there. Nice to see if you're towing. I really like the trans temp being there. And your elecTerrain, so if I turn the elecTerrain knob, you can see where the vehicle's, the elecTerrain's running for, or what type of terrain is easily indicated as well. Just a nice little integration. I really like how it goes. And when you open it up, it actually says it's a Jeep thing you wouldn't understand as the Jeep's driving across and it's loading. Since it's already running in the background, that's not going to come up, but it's just something, oh, there it is. It's a Jeep thing you wouldn't understand. I just thought it was a clever little treatment there, and it looked kind of cool. So, and these are really just the rest of your, apps per se on the vehicle. So, and you can drag and drop if you wanted, heated wheel to be a quick access button, you can drop it right down into this tray. Looking down, you've got all your standard controls there. You can take a look and figure it out yourself, just because I don't want to read them to you. Eco off, so that would kind of, the vehicle's going to shift into higher gears a little bit quicker, just for higher fuel economy. So if you don't want that, kick it right off there. And you can also turn on sport mode, which inherently turns off eco mode. And then you have your stability control and park sense here at the bottom. Look at the center, you can see the new, or relatively new gear shifter. Quick, easy to use, really can't really screw it up. I do like that they actually have the manual controls here for the shifter proper. Most vehicles, they kind of do it the wrong way where they push it forward. And, in a Grand Cherokee, I don't think it's needed, but the reason it is back is, the way I understood it is in a car that's accelerating very quickly, if this was forward, as you're getting pushed back, it's hard to push forward, but it's easier for someone accelerating to pull back. And as you're slowing down, you're obviously pushing forward, so it's easier for you to do it that way. So, don't know that it's needed in a Grand Cherokee, but just a little background as far as why it's backwards per se. But I do like that it actually does light up the front when you're pushing it forward. They didn't have to do that, but they did. So, interesting. You do have LED lamps, or not LED lamps, but lighting inside the cup holder, as well as up here. There is a little lamp right there that shines down on the center console at night. You have HomeLink, 3 garage doors, obviously a vent for your sunroof here, as well as the cover, and your lamps, power liftgate, and sunglasses. And continuing on to the elecTerrain system, you can see it's pretty straightforward for the most part. You're on auto mode, you can go to sand, snow, and you got your 4-low, hill descent control, as well as your height for your suspension. If you want to go to off-road 2, you push that up, and you hold down if you want to go to park mode. Now, looking at the center console here, you can see you do have a 12-volt power supply down there. There is a lamp for illumination at night in the back, and then you have an upper tier for additional storage, and it looks like a tissue pocket here for a little tissue box. This glove compartment actually does have a lot in it, but there is a tier up top for your owner's manual, and they have the wheel locks in here for this particular dealer. I know Feeney puts that on every vehicle they put on the lot. And you have nice wood trim across the vehicle, and I like the smooth appearance to it. It has a nice look. Just overall, nice classy look. Looking at your gauge cluster here, you can see I am in off-road 2. I do have the ability to go right to the analog speedometer. Tire pressure, trans temp, oil temp, all that's available if you didn't want to use it on the off-road pages. Your fuel economy, trip meters, audio, messages, and just your screen setup. So one thing I like with the screen setup is if I didn't want to have, for instance, the compass in the top left corner, I could just change that to range and have that up there. And I do like that the odometer can be hidden as well. Sometimes I don't like to be told how much I'm actually driving. But you do have your gas gauge here, obviously, and then your coolant temp and your tach. So if we take a quick listen here, you can see the engine really doesn't have too much of a sound on the inside. It's pretty muted. I think it's just part of the nature of the vehicle. So pretty quiet, but you can see it does move the whole car. It's a pretty good engine there, so, or a pretty good size, right? 5.7 liters. Decent engine in a vehicle of this size, so when you rev it, the whole vehicle shakes just a little bit. You can see more of those black surrounds there going around the radio, as well as your vents and your door handles. There are your headlamp controls. You've got, it's an auto, you've got your standard other modes there, brightness for your interior lamps, as well as your power release for your gas cap. You do have power folding mirrors. So pretty straightforward with that. Auto up and down front windows, manual rear windows, power controls there, just standard controls. So you do have SOS as well as your power mirror dimmer and assist button if you need to contact emergency services. And that's essentially the interior of the Grand Cherokee. Now, one thing I do want to comment on is this air suspension. Our 2011, we drove for 140,000 miles, and we had 0 issues with it throughout that time. And a big part of that is really the way FCA designed the system. It is a closed loop system, so underneath, I believe the rear seat is a tank of nitrogen, from my understanding, and it's just a closed loop. So whenever they are bringing an acorn down on the windshield, or if you are bringing the vehicle up or down, it just is moving that air to those airbags, and you can hear the pump kind of turn on and off. And it's not even a pump necessarily, it's a valve that you can hear just kind of close, or it just makes that sound, and it's just closing that loop. So it's a dry system. So most vehicles, we in closed loop, right? There's no exterior moisture being introduced. In a lot of GM's vehicles in the past, you hear a pump on the outside of the car pumping moist exterior air, you know, atmospheric air, and it's just, you're adding moisture to a system and just asking for things to fail. So with this, it's just a bag getting nitrogen put into it, and it's, you know, there's not much to really screw up there. So ours had 0 issues throughout the 140,000 miles we owned it. And our high altitude, I drove up until I'd had about 75,000 miles, 0 issues. And we know the second owner, and she's had it now for another 20,000 miles and has had 0 issues. So that's not to say that there aren't issues with this air suspension. I'm sure some people have had issues, but for us, it's been perfect. I mean, when we towed our travel trailer, it had 0 issues. It put a little squat in the rear, and then as soon as, you know, you put your weight on, the back would level out, and it sat perfectly level. It's just, you don't think about it. It's done, easy to use, it rides nice, and it's just a great system. So just, anyways, I want to put that quick blurb on there just because I know sometimes that's a hesitation for some people. Now this Jeep is in off-road 2 right now, just so I want to show you guys kind of the height that it gets to. So So this is off-road 2. And then now you're looking at entry-exit. So to go from off-road 2 to entry-exit, it's about a 40-second process. You just get inside, push the button, and the system just goes down for you. And typically when you're on the road, you know, if you're going, I think it's about 55, it actually goes to aero mode, and the front end, or the whole car, just hunkers down about ½ an inch just for improved aerodynamics. So as time has gone on, you can see the light from the sun is now hitting the hood, and you can see just that nice appearance this color has. Just overall, just looks excellent in my opinion. And I just want to add just one kind of pinch point I have with these Grand Cherokees, and it really revolves around these seats. As far as leather goes, they've got a great feel, but on long road trips, they're not exactly the softest seats to sit in. So they look nice, wear fine, no issues in that front, nice bolstering. It's just, they're just a little bit more firm than I'd like, and I know others that I've talked to in the past have said the same thing about these, so I'm hoping that's something that's improved with time, but you know, you'd think after you sit in the seat for 100,000 miles, they might get a little softer. And these feel just the same as the one Jeep with 140,000 miles. So just something to note, if you're really sensitive to those, make sure you get some seat time in these just to make sure these are okay for you. I actually think the Laredos have a softer seat from what I read. The actual cushioning code is like a 3 versus a 4, and I think the lower the code, the softer it is. I could be wrong, but I remember reading into it once, and I remember somebody saying that. So, all right, folks. Subscribe and let me know what questions you got. Take care.